The great hall of Kaelora shimmered under the twin suns. It was built from crystal-like stone, with silver vines running through the walls, glowing softly. Ow! Delegates from dozens of alien worlds sat around a wide circle, were tall insectoids, scaled beings with glowing eyes, and humans in sharp uniforms. Captain Drew Callan stood near the back of Earth's delegation. He was not a politician, not even a high-ranking officer. He'd fought in the war, survived it, and now was chosen for one reason. He had earned respect from both sides. Still, he felt out of place among the shining armor, fancy robes, and royal banners. Then she walked in, Princess Sailari of the Azari Dominion. Tall and graceful, with long flowing hair the color of teal blue sea, she moved with quiet strength. Her dress shimmered like morning mist, but her eyes held the sharpness of a leader. When she entered, the room fell silent, even the proudest. Warriors lowering their heads in respect. Drew had heard of her before. They said she was a voice of peace, a healer of wounds, and a mind as sharp as a blade. But none of the stories prepared him for seeing her. With his own eyes, she walked to the center and gave a soft bow. "We welcome peace," she said in calm, musical tones. "Let this day be remembered not for war, but for unity." Everyone clapped politely. But Drew couldn't take his eyes off her. She wasn't just beautiful. She was ... different. Graceful, yes, but kind. Strong, yet gentle. He whispered to himself without thinking, "I wish I had a wife like her." He thought no one heard. He was just a tired soldier, admiring someone. Far beyond him, but then she turned. Princess Sailari slowly looked in his direction, her eyes meeting his. Her expression was unreadable at first. Then she gave the smallest smile and said, in perfect English, clear enough for all nearby to hear, "Yes." Silence spread across the hall. Heads turned. Whispers broke out. Drew's heart jumped. It did. She'll really hear him? Did she just agree to be his wife? That couldn't be right. I didn't mean. Drew started, feeling his face heat up. A human diplomat leaned over and hissed, "What did you say, Captain? Are you out of your mind?" The alien side was equally confused. Some Azari nobles narrowed their eyes. One elder stood up, pointing a long finger at Drew. "Does this human think to mock our royal family?" But Sailari raised her hand. "There is no mockery," she said calmly. He spoke honestly. "I heard it, and I answered." The elder frowned. "Princess, surely you jest." She smiled faintly. "Do I look like I jest?" The elder fell silent. Drew stood frozen. He wasn't sure what was happening. Was this some kind of test? A joke? Or something more? A moment later, the royal guards escorted Sailari back behind the crystal doors. Session was paused. Chaos followed. 2 hours later, Drew sat alone in a round white room. He had been told to wait. No one explained what would happen next. He looked at his hands. He had fought in battles, lost friends, and faced death many times. But this was different. He'd only whispered a thought and somehow it had changed. Everything. The door opened. Soft humming sound followed, and Princess Sailari entered, alone. She stood in front of him, her hands gently clasped. "I hope I did not shame you," she said. He stood quickly. "No, of course not, Your Highness. I'm just ... confused." She tilted her head slightly. "You spoke a truth," I answered with one. "On my world, such things are not taken lightly." Drew nodded slowly. "It was just a thought." "You're incredible. I never thought someone like me. Why not?" she asked, stepping closer. "I'm no prince. I'm just a soldier. I've seen war. I've lost things. I don't even understand your culture. And yet," she said softly, "you wished for peace, for love, for something true. That matters." He looked into her eyes. They were deep and calm like still water. "You don't even know me?" "Not yet," she said. "But I would like to." The next day, the court called a private meeting between the human and Azari leaders. Sailari stood beside Drew. Her presence made the room feel warmer, steadier. The human ambassador was red-faced. Princess Sailari, with great respect, We believe this may be a misunderstanding. It is not, she replied firmly. An Azari noble interrupted. Are we truly discussing bonding with a human? A common soldier? This is madness. Drew stepped forward. I didn't come here to steal your princess. I only spoke a thought. If I've offended you, Salari raised her hand again. He did not offend. He spoke from the heart. And I choose to explore this path. Her father, the Azari emperor, watched from a screen. His face was unreadable. Finally he spoke. If this union is real, then let it be tested. No bond should be formed in a day. He turned to Drew. You will spend 7 days with my daughter. Learn her ways. Let her learn yours. After that, you both will decide. Drew nodded, a little stunned. Yes, sir. Emperor's eyes narrowed. Know this. Human. She is precious to us. Hurt her, and no corner of the galaxy will hide you. I would never, Drew said. The screen faded that night. Salari and Drew walked through the glowing gardens of Kalora. The plants sparkled faintly under the twin moons. Small floating lights drifted above the trees like gentle stars. I didn't expect this, Drew said quietly. Any of this? Neither did I, she admitted. But I believe the universe brings us strange gifts. He looked at her, then at the sky. You could have ignored me, laughed it off, but I didn't want to. Why? He asked. She touched a small flower, and it glowed brighter. You were the only one who looked at me not like a leader, ... or a symbol, ... but as a person. Drew said nothing for a moment, then smiled. You heard a whisper, and answered with a yes. She looked at him with calm warmth. Sometimes one yes can change everything. The next morning, the sun rose over Kalora, its golden light falling through the crystal buildings. Birds with glowing wings flew through the sky. Everything looked peaceful, but behind the walls of the palace, whispers of fear and anger grew. Louder. Princess Salari and Captain Drew Callan sat side by side in the center garden. They were alone, surrounded by white stone arches and floating blue flowers. A light breeze carried the scent of sweet fruits. Drew looked nervous. So, this is day 1 of 7. Salari nodded. Yes, a full week together. Then we decide. Do we have rules? She smiled slightly. No rules. But there are expectations. We must learn about each other. Understand if we can. Live as one. Drew scratched the back of his neck. I've never been part of something this serious, or this strange. Salari looked into his eyes. Neither have I. They spent the morning walking through the palace. She showed him the Hall of Echoes, where voices from history were stored as light. Then they visited the Star Garden, where rare plants grew in air, fed by starlight. Drew asked questions, and she answered patiently. He shared stories of Earth's oceans, cities, and strange things like dogs and coffee. By evening, something was changing. Space between them felt less like two strangers and more like something real, something warm, but outside their quiet time. Trouble was brewing. In a chamber deep below the palace, 3 Azari nobles sat in darkness. This cannot continue, one hissed. She is royalty. That human is nothing, worse than nothing, said the eldest. He is a symbol of weakness. If the people see their princess bonding with a human, what will they think? There is still time, the third said. Let the trial days continue. But if she chooses him, ... we act. Day 2 brought more questions. At breakfast, a group of human officers arrived to speak with Drew. They looked uncomfortable. Captain 1 said, You've become ... famous. Drew raised an eyebrow. Famous, another chuckled.
Here.
On every screen back home, human soldier wins heart of alien princess. People are either cheering you or calling you a traitor. I didn't win anything, Drew said. I just ... whispered. The officer leaned closer. Just watch your step. Some powerful people don't like this bond. They'll look for a reason to shut it down. Drew nodded. Already knew that. Later that day, Salari invited him to visit her personal meditation room. It was high in a tower, filled with floating lights and soft music. There were paintings of old Azari, Queen's strong women, warriors, thinkers, healers. You come from a line of leaders, Drew said. I come from a line of choices, she corrected gently. Some right, some wrong, but each one changed history. Ch looked at him. You know what kind of history we could create together? He smiled. Something new. She reached out and gently touched his hand. For a moment, the world felt still, but the moment did not last. That night, while Drew rested in his guest room, a sharp sound woke him, a hiss then a click. The lights flickered. He jumped out of bed just before a dart hit the pillow where his head had been. Two shadowy figures rushed inside. They moved fast, like trained assassins. Drew rolled, grabbed a chair and smashed it into one of them. The figure fell. The other charged, pulling a blade. Drew blocked the strike with his arm and punched the attacker hard in the face. Blood sprayed. More footsteps came. Palace guards burst in and took the attackers down. Salary arrived seconds later, out of breath. She ran to Drew. You're hurt. It's nothing, he said, holding his arm. Just a scratch. Her face darkened. This was no accident. Someone wants you gone. Drew nodded. Yeah, I figured. The next morning, the palace was in a storm of activity. The attack could not be hidden. Security doubled. The emperor appeared again on the great screen, his face cold and distant. Daughter, said to Salari, do you still believe this bond is worth it? She said without hesitation. He looked at Drew. Then prove it. Complete. The days. But from now on, you are under watch. Drew bowed. Understood. Day 3 passed quietly, but tension filled every hallway that evening. As they sat by a small waterfall, Drew spoke softly. Why are you doing this? Salari tilted her head. Do you mean why am I standing by you? He nodded. Just a soldier. You could have anyone. Your people need you to marry someone powerful. Safe. Why take a risk on me? She looked at him for a long time. Because I've seen enough of power. I've seen cold minds and hard hearts. You, she reached out and placed her hand on his. You see me as I am. It's not as a prize, not as a symbol, but as a person. Drew felt his heart beat faster. I don't want to hurt your future. You are part of my future, she said. They sat quietly under the stars, not speaking. But the silence said everything. Day 4 brought a surprise. They were taken to a diplomatic ball in the Grand Hall of Unity. All species were present, some wearing suits, others glowing armor, others strange robes made of light. Drew felt awkward in his Earth uniform. But when Salari walked beside him, he stood taller. At the center of the ballroom, a group of Azari nobles whispered behind fans. The same 3 who had plotted before now watched Drew closely. An announcer called, "Time for the Unity Dance." Couples stepped into the center. Drew hesitated. "I don't dance," he whispered. Salari smiled and held out her hand. "Then let me lead." They stepped into the circle. Soft music played. She guided him gently, their hands together, steps slow and simple. People stared, some in shock, others with quiet approval. But one of the Azari nobles clenched his fists. "They must not finish this week," he whispered. "Even if it means war." Late that night, as Drew walked Salari back to her chamber, he stopped. "Can I ask something?" She nodded. "What happens after the 7th day? If we both say yes?" Then she said, "We begin a new life together. You would become my consort, my partner in peace. And if I say no?" She looked away. "Then I return to duty, and perhaps to an arranged marriage." Drew swallowed. That doesn't seem fair. Duty rarely is. He nodded. "Don't want to say no." She looked into his eyes. "Then don't." As the 4th night ended, storm clouds formed over Kalora. Not in the sky, but in the hearts of those who feared change. And somewhere, deep in the shadows, another plan was being made. A plan that would strike before the 7th day ever arrived. The 5th day began with dark skies over Kalora. Storm clouds covered the sun, casting shadows across the palace walls. The beautiful glow of the city felt dimmer, and so did the spirits inside. Captain Drew Callan woke to the sound of alarms. Sharp buzzing rang through the halls. He grabbed his jacket and stepped out of his room just as royal guards rushed past him. "What's going on?" he asked one. "Security breach," the guard replied quickly. "The princess is missing." Hart stopped. "What do you mean missing?" "She disappeared from her chamber. Her tracking signal is gone." Without another word, Drew sprinted down the hall. His feet pounded against the marble floor. He pushed past guards and aides until he reached the princess's room. The door had been forced open. The crystal frame cracked from an explosion. He looked around, no signs of struggle. Only one thing was left behind: a silver bracelet. Drew picked it up slowly. Someone had taken her far from the palace. Deep in the wild forests of Kailora, Princess Solari opened her eyes. She was lying on soft moss beneath tall, glowing trees. Strange vines moved gently in the breeze, and small creatures made soft, clicking sounds from the branches above. Her hands were tied with energy cuffs. Her legs, too. 3 shadowy figures stood nearby. She recognized them. Nobles. Enemies in secret. "You'll regret this," she said. Calmly, one noble laughed. "You're wrong, princess. You'll thank us." They stepped closer. "You were going to throw away your future for a human. You couldn't allow it." Solari's eyes narrowed. "You kidnapped me because of Drew. You belong to the Azari?" The oldest said, "Not to some soldier from Earth. You don't understand him," she said softly. "No," the noble said, "and we never will. That's why he must die. And you, well, once this is over, will say the human betrayed you, tried to use you, and the people will forget this foolish story." Solari didn't move, but inside she burned with anger. She needed to escape, and fast. Back in the palace, Drew stood before the emperor. "She's been taken," he said, "and I'm going after her." The emperor's face was cold on the screen. "You are a guest, not a soldier here." "I don't care," Drew replied. "She's out there because of me." The emperor stared at him for a long moment, and finally said, "We've detected movement near the south forests." "It may be her." "I'll go," Drew said. "We will send a squad." "No," Drew replied. "You might be in danger because of your own nobles. If they see your soldiers coming, they'll hide her or worse." The emperor narrowed his eyes. "You are bold." Drew stepped forward. "No, I'm in love." Pause. "Then go," the emperor said. "But know this. If you fail, I will burn that forest to find her." Drew nodded once, then ran toward the hangars. Drew flew a small scout craft low over the forest. The trees shimmered with strange blue light. Birds with crystal feathers flew in the wind, and the ground was covered with vines that pulsed like living nerves. His tracker blinked. A faint signal. It was her bracelet, still active, just barely. He landed and stepped out into the jungle. Every sound echoed. Every step was slow. He had no weapons, only a scanner, a blade, and a heart full of fire. Meanwhile, Solari worked her fingers against the cuffs. She moved slowly, carefully, as the nobles argued nearby. One of them left to check their perimeter. Another turned his back. Click, the cuffs loosened. She moved quickly. Diving into the bushes just as the last cuff dropped, alarms sounded. Shouts rang out. "She's loose." Solari ran, pushing through. Leaves and vines, her dress torn. Her bare feet pounding against soft earth. She didn't know where to go, but she knew who she hoped would come. Drew heard the shout in the distance. He moved toward the sound. His heart beat fast. He climbed over roots, ducked under branches, and followed broken leaves. Then he heard her voice. "Drew." He spun. She was there, running toward him, breathing hard, hair tangled, eyes wide. He rushed to her, catching her in his arms. "Are you hurt?" "No," she gasped. "But they're coming." As if on cue, plasma shots fired from behind them. "Run," she said. Together they dashed through the forest, dodging trees. Leaping over glowing roots, a beam of energy exploded near Drew's feet. "They won't stop," she said. "They want us both gone." Drew pulled her behind a thick rock. "Then we make them stop." He scanned the area. Just ahead was an old Azari ruin, an ancient site once used for meditation and healing. Now it was overgrown and silent. They ran toward it. Inside the ruins, they hid behind a stone wall. Drew found a broken metal rod and sharpened one end. Solari found an old energy beacon. "We can boost the signal," she said, fixing the wires. "Quickly, they'll find us soon," Drew said. "I know," she replied. "We hold them off until help arrives." They prepared as much as they could, setting traps, making noise in other directions, trying to confuse their pursuers. When the nobles and their guards finally arrived, they thought they had cornered the pair. But Drew fought like a man with nothing to lose and everything to protect. He used the metal rod like a spear, taking down 2 guards with surprise attacks. Sailari used the beacon's energy core as a flash weapon, blinding 1 noble, but they were still outnumbered. Drew stood in front of Sailari, his arm bleeding, breath heavy. "You'll have to go through me," he said. The nobles laughed gladly. Just as they stepped forward, a blast of wind swept through the ruins. Bright lights flashed. Above, Azari royal ships descended. Dozens of guards dropped from the sky, and behind them stood the emperor himself. The nobles froze. "You kidnapped my daughter," the emperor said. His voice was low and deadly. "You tried to kill her bondmate." The eldest noble fell too. His knees. "We only wanted to protect the Dominion by betraying its heart." The emperor roared. He pointed at Drew and Salari. They protected each other, with no army, no power, only love. "That is what our people need," he turned. To his guards, "Arrest the traitors." Back at the palace, Solari sat beside Drew in the healing chamber. He had a bandage on his arm and a small cut on his cheek. "You didn't have to come after me," she said softly. "I know," he replied, "but I wanted to." She looked at him. "You were ready to fight an army for me," he smiled. "I'd do it again." She took his hand. "Then I believe we already have our answer." He looked into her eyes. "Yes, yes," she said, smiling. After the rescue, the traitorous nobles were taken away in chains. Some would face trial. Others would be removed from power quietly. The royal guards returned to their posts. The court returned to order. But the story of what happened in the forest had already spread across the galaxy. Everyone knew it now. A human soldier had risked his life to save the Azari princess. She had chosen to stand beside him. Inside the healing chamber, Drew Callan sat by the window. His arm was still, sore, but his mind was clear. He looked out at the city below. The twin suns were rising, painting the sky gold and blue. It was the 6th day. One more day remained before the decision. Behind him, the door opened. Princess Sailari entered, wearing a flowing gown of soft teal and silver. Her eyes met his, and her smile warmed the room. "You're up early," she said gently. "Couldn't sleep," Drew replied. "Are you worried?" He turned back to the window. Yes and no. She stepped closer. "Tell me." Drew spoke slowly. "Part of me still thinks this is all a dream. Another part is afraid it will end tomorrow." Solari sat beside him. "End. I know," he said. "But we still have to stand before your people. And mine. We have to say it out loud. We choose each other." She nodded. "Yes, that is the final step." He looked at her. "Are you ready?" "I have never been more ready for anything in my life." Later that day, the court of Azari gathered in the Grand Chamber of Judgment. It was shaped like a star, with glass walls showing the sky above. Thousands of alien leaders, nobles, scholars, and citizens filled the seats. Screens across the galaxy broadcast the event. The Emperor stood at the center, proud and still. He raised a hand. Let the choice be made. From opposite ends of the chamber, 2 figures walked forward. Captain Drew Callan, dressed in a formal Earth's military coat, freshly cleaned and patched. His posture was firm, his eyes steady. Princess Sailari, in a royal robe made of starlight silk, a royal symbol shining on her chest. They stopped at the circle's edge. The Emperor looked to his daughter. "Princess Sailari, do you accept this union, knowing its meaning for your people, your future, And your heart? She held her head high. I do. A soft murmur filled the chamber. The Emperor then turned to Drew. Captain Callan, do you accept? This union, knowing the burden, the honor, and the change it brings? I do, Drew said without hesitation. The chamber went silent then. Slowly, the Emperor stepped forward. He looked between them. Then speak your vows. Solari reached into her robe and pulled out a small crystal. This was my mother's, she said. It was given when she chose my father. Now I give it to you. She placed it into Drew's hand. It means I will stand with you always. Drew reached into his jacket. He had brought a small Meadowland Old Earth symbol of courage. Belonged to my brother. He died protecting others. Now, I give it to you. He placed it over her heart. It means I will protect you always. The Emperor raised both hands. Then let it be known. A new bond is formed between Azari and Earth, between warrior and princess, between hearts. The crowd stayed quiet for 1 second, then the chamber erupted in cheers. Thousands stood. Applause echoed through the walls. Light danced across the ceiling, but not all were pleased. Far above the city, in a hidden warship orbiting Kalora, a cold voice spoke into the darkness. It is done. Then the voice said. A second voice replied. Yes. The bond has been sealed. The people celebrate. We will wait no longer, said the first. Begin the final phase. That evening, Drew and Salari stood on a high balcony, overlooking the glowing city. Lanterns floated in the air. Music played softly. Fireworks sparkled in the sky above. You look worried, Salari said. Drew nodded. I just have this feeling. Pout. What? Something isn't right. Too quiet, too perfect. She took his hand. Maybe the universe is giving us a peaceful moment. He looked into her eyes. Maybe, but I've been a soldier too long. I know when something's coming. Just then, a messenger ran onto the balcony, pale and breathless. Highness, Captain. Emergency call, coming from orbit. Drew's heart dropped. Who is it? The messenger handed him a small device. A hologram appeared. Earth Admiral, eyes wide with panic. Captain Callan, this is Admiral Briggs from Earth Command. We've picked up something Azari ships. Hundreds. Not from the palace. Unknown. Markings, they've just left orbit, and they're headed straight for the city. Solari froze. But that's not possible. No fleets were scheduled. No movement authorized. Drew turned to her. Someone's trying to stop us. Even now the palace entered lockdown. Guards rushed to their posts. Shields rose over the city. Fighters launched into the sky, but it was too late. Within minutes, the first blast struck the outer defense towers. The enemy fleet descended fast ships, with blackened hulls and strange markings. Not loyal to the Emperor, not even part of the traitor nobles. These were something else, something hidden. An ancient war group, long believed destroyed, but still alive in the shadows. Their goal? Break the Union. Destroy the bond. Erase the new peace before it could begin. Drew led Salari down to the war room. We need a plan, he said. This isn't just an attack. It's a message. Salari nodded. We must stand together. Let the people see. We are not afraid. Drew looked around. Do we have ships? Weapons? One general stepped forward. We have enough for a defense, not for a war. Then we fight smart, Drew said. He pointed to the map. They'll go for the palace. That's their symbol of power. If we move the civilians underground, use the old city tunnels. Solari interrupted. There's an ancient weapon hidden below the central chamber. Never used. It was sealed centuries ago. Drew raised an eyebrow. How dangerous. Only to enemies, she said. They exchanged a look, then nodded. Together they led a team through the palace tunnels. As bombs rocked the ground above, they reached the old chamber. A large vault door stood before them. Symbols glowed along its edges. Salari placed her hand on the panel, scanned her energy, then opened with a deep rumble. Inside was a glowing sphere, floating above a platform. Pure energy, the heart fire, Salari said. power from our twin stars. We were never meant to use it in war. Drew stared at it until now. They activated the system above ground. As enemy ships swarmed toward the city's heart, a beam of golden light shot into the sky. The Heartfire. Wakened energy pulsed through the defense towers. A new shield, brighter and stronger than ever, formed above the city. Enemy ships crashed into it, burning, falling within minutes. The battle turned. The Azari fleet, now strengthened with Earth support, pushed back. One by one, the enemy ships fell, and then silence. The sky cleared. Later in the throne room, the Emperor looked at his daughter and her chosen partner. "You saved this world," he said. Together, Drew looked at Salari. "We're not done yet." She smiled. "No, we've just begun." The stars above Kyalora shone brighter than ever before. The battle was over. The enemy fleet had been destroyed. The palace still stood, and the people were safe. But deep inside, Captain Drew Callan knew things were only just beginning. Peace was not something that came from victory. Peace had to be built, lowly, carefully, day by day. And now he wasn't building it alone. 2 days after the battle, a final ceremony was held in the Hall of Unity. Every leader from every world under the Azari Dominion attended, along with Earth's highest diplomats and officers. Princess Salari stood at the center, dressed not in royal robes, but in a simple, ceremonial gown with the colors of both Azari and Earth. Captain Drew stood beside her. In his formal Earth uniform, freshly repaired, his medal shone on his chest, but it wasn't the medal that drew attention. It was the way he looked at Scheller, with calm, with warmth, with certainty. The Emperor stepped forward and raised his hand. The crowd fell silent. "My daughter and this human soldier have done more than protect a city," he said. "They have shown the galaxy what it means to trust, to risk, to choose love when the world offers fear." He looked at Silari. "Oh, you are more than a princess now." Then it Drew, "And you, soldier of Earth, you are no longer just a guest. Today you join our family, our future." The Emperor stepped aside. Silari turned to Drew. "I was born into royalty," she said, her voice strong but gentle. "But I never understood true power till I saw you stand for what you believed, even when you were alone." She reached for his hand. "I choose you, not because of duty, but because of the heart that whispered when no one else was listening." Drew stepped closer. "I never dreamed I'd meet someone like you," he said. "You're wise, strong, and brave. You saw through my scars and still said yes." He smiled, "And now I say yes to you forever." The crowd rose in one powerful wave of applause. Light fell down from the high dome, surrounding them in a soft golden glow. And in that moment, without any throne, without any crown, they became more than princess and soldier. They became partners. After the ceremony, Drew and Salari walked together through the royal garden. The city was alive with joy. Children flew glowing kites. People from different planets shared meals in the open markets. The old barriers were breaking, replaced by hope. Drew breathed in the air. "Feels like a new world." "It is," Salari said. "We changed it." "Just us," he said. "All of them. Everyone who believed peace was possible." She nodded, but her eyes still held a hint of worry. "What is it?" Drew asked. "I'm happy," she said, "but I know others will come. More enemies. More challenges." Drew squeezed her hand. "Let them come. We'll face them together." That evening, they held their first official meeting as partners of peace. Leaders from every species sat in the Unity Chamber. Drew sat beside Salari, no longer as a guest but as an equal. The discussions began. Some leaders were hopeful, others cautious. But Salari spoke with calm wisdom and Drew with honest strength. He told stories of Earth soldiers who fought for peace, not power. She shared Azari lessons about balance and kindness. By the end of the meeting, something had changed. The Unity Pact was signed. Earth would now work side by side with the Azari Dominion, not as a servant, not as a threat, but as a true ally. It was the beginning of something new. Weeks passed. Drew and Salary traveled together across many worlds. They visited schools, hospitals, refugee stations, and border planets once filled with conflict. Wherever they went, people came to see them. Not because they were royalty, but because they were proof. Proof that peace could grow from the smallest things: a whisper, a choice, a bond. On one distant moon, a young alien girl approached Salari. "Is it true?" she asked, holding a small flower. "You married a human?" Salari knelt and took the flower. "Yes, I did. Why?" She smiled. "'Cause he listened. And because he protected not just me, but what I stood for." The girl nodded, then looked at Drew. "Can I be strong like you someday?" Drew knelt beside her. "You already are."
Ow.
One night back on Kailora, the two sat by the waterfall in the palace garden. It was the same place they had once sat during the early days. The same spot where Drew first began to understand her heart. Salari leaned against him. "Do you remember what you said that day?" He laughed softly. "I remember everything." "I wish I had a wife like her," she said, mimicking his quiet tone. "And you turned and said, yes." They laughed together. Then Salari turned serious. "What if you hadn't said it? What if you had stayed quiet?" Drew thought for a moment. Then maybe none of this would have happened. She looked up at him. "One whisper changed the galaxy." "No," he said. "You changed it." She shook her head. "We did." Soon after, the Emperor called a private meeting with them. "I am stepping down," he announced. Salari looked shocked. "Father, why? I have ruled long enough," he said. "But more than that, I believe in what you and your husband are building." He placed his crown on the table. "You will lead now. Together." Drew blinked. "Wait, what?" Salari reached for Drew's hand. "We'll do it. Together." The Emperor nodded once and left the room. In silence they stood. There were two people who had started as strangers. Now, the future of a galaxy rested in their hands. A year passed. The Azari-Earth alliance was now strong. Trade flowed between stars. Peace spread across old battlegrounds. Schools taught both Azari wisdom and human history. The galaxy was changing. On the anniversary of their union, a great celebration was held. Thousands gathered in the Hall of Stars. Holograms showed memories from their journey. Drew fighting in the forest. Salari standing in the judgment chamber. Their first dance. There. Victory in battle. As the images faded, Drew and Salari walked onto the stage. They stood before the crowd. Then Salari raised her hand. "I was once a princess, raised in silence and tradition," she said. "Then a human soldier whispered a single wish, and I chose to listen." Drew spoke next. "I was a man broken by war, unsure of his place in the universe. Then a princess saw me not as a symbol, but as a person, and said yes." They held hands, and now Salari said, "We say yes to all of you, to the future, to peace." The crowd rose. Applause filled the air, and in that moment, every being, human or alien, knew they were part of something greater, not just a story, but a beginning.